Paul, I turn to you first because you usually bring the most heat. Let's start with RFK. What do you think the hearing actually showed us about what's happening in our government health agencies?
I think it reminded us how dangerous, radical, and extreme so many people in this administration are. I think this
remember when you saw Brett Kavanaugh testify and thought, like, oh, my gosh, he's extreme.
Yeah, that was tough to handle, right? But this is a week where we're surrounded by crazy and extreme people who are very close to the levers of power, right? I want to reflect on one thing. Next week is 9/11. People maybe don't know or forget, he's also a pusher of 9/11 conspiracies, right? He says this is the kind of stuff that we now have occupying seats within the cabinet. Laura Loomer is making national security recommendations, also, by the way, pushing 9/11 conspiracies. You've got Pete Hegseth. We can't normalize how crazy, extreme, radical, and dangerous many of these people are. And what we have to be reminded about is how close they are to power and how much they've been doing. They're on plan. They're moving things forward. They're denying vaccines. They're rolling the National Guard out into our streets. They're striking targets in Venezuela. They are on plan, and they're doing it with a very extreme, crazy, and dangerous group of people.
I want to go back to what you said, because to your original point, they're executing their plan, and it's working. Because on one hand, you have RFK Jr. say, yes, I think Donald Trump deserves to win the Nobel Prize for the development of Operation Warp Speed, which I would argue was extraordinary. And at the same time, he is cutting the funding that was used to create Operation Warp Speed, to create that vaccine.
This is the week where Trump and Hegseth and Kennedy gave the middle finger to everybody. Yeah. They said, you're not stopping us.
Oh, because they didn't laugh.
I was going to say. They said, we don't have
to. Those other today was both middle fingers.
They said, we don't have to tell you anything. We don't have to give you information about a strike we did in Venezuelan waters. We don't have to comment today on the fact that now it's been disclosed that there was a Navy SEAL operation in North Korea. They're not talking about how they're deploying our troops on the most severe and important and critical issues, especially around national security. Because Kennedy involves national security, right? Let's not vaccinate the country. What does that do to our national security? What does that do to our troops, right? All of this is saying you can't stop us. And unfortunately, it's true. Right now, I don't think there's a whole lot of cost right now. They're chugging along. And maybe there are a couple speed bumps that gets in the way, but they keep going.
Yes. He has his own coalition baked in, however small. Now, Trump won't be on the ballot again, and so it doesn't necessarily matter politically like that, but that kind of loyalty matters to Trump still.
Anti-vax people who are COVID deniers. Like, that's a base for him. So are UFC fans.
But it's why he's waffled on the efficacy of the vaccine.
It's about this idea of muscularity and fake bullshit. Tough guy stuff, right? That's the overarching theme, right? It's Hegseth calling it the Department of War. It's RFK talking about how many push-ups he can do. It's Tulsi Gabbard going on all the podcasts. It's all about this image that they are tough and they are strong and they're going after the bad guys. And if you challenge us, you're a wimp.
Okay, but there's a bad guy
America.
they're not going after. There's another story this week that occupied a lot of space, and it's the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Okay? Hold on, Paul.
Two separate things. Why does America, and a lot of folks on this network, keep expecting the Democrats to save us? The Democrats have proven they will not save us, and that includes the midterms, because if they continue to have the negative brand that is the Democratic Party right now, they're going to get clobbered again in the midterms. There's no guarantee they're going to win the midterms if we even have midterms. So what's happening, I think, with the Epstein file is something more pure. You actually do have the Republican base coming at him on it, right? That does provide an opportunity to wound him, to potentially slow him down, to distract him. I don't think everything else he's doing is necessarily a distraction from that. I think that's too much a Democratic talking point. He's on path on national security, on deploying the National Guard. But Epstein hurts. And I don't think we can wait only for the Democrats to use that to damage Trump. It's going to be the survivor.
So if Democrats aren't going to save you, what's the answer?
I think it's
get informed, get engaged, vote, and run for office?
And I think it's new leaders. I think the country is so starving for new leaders, and maybe they'll come from the survivors, right? Maybe in the past they've come from the 9/11 community, right? They come from whistleblowers. That's what the country is starving for right now. We're seeing doctors run for office
across the country.
Former employees that got Doge.
Yeah, the alternative to Trump is not the Democrats, and the country keeps saying that. They're looking for somebody else to fill that void.
So he's just moving the goalposts.
And he's expanding the circle. Because having all those leaders kowtow to him was a really powerful moment for him, right? It looked like an audition for The Apprentice.
It was a powerful show.
And they were all kissing his ass. And even someone like Bill Gates that you look to be strong, to be a voice of reason, to push back, I didn't see any of them push back. And I think that's the bigger issue, is that they're buying his shtick, and they're also echoing his shtick, which allows him to distort the truth, which is what he continues to do on national security. It's what he does in the economy. It's what he's going to do on Epstein. And that's been the real focus of their attacks in the last couple weeks, is the truth. They're bending the truth, and that's what's most dangerous.
They're not. I don't think they're buying his shtick. They're playing the game, but it has the same result, allowing him to bend the truth. When there was a time in our history not long ago when we would look to those business leaders to actually be leaders, yet none of them said one word about the fact that threatening the independence of the Federal Reserve could crater our market.
And there is somebody who's hiring. The military's hiring, and ICE is hiring, and there's going to be a lot of defense spending. So it's only a matter of time before those things merge. And we talk about the opportunity for AI around defense while we're simultaneously involved in forever war around the globe.
But this is into the great unknown, and you have a president who says, how about no regulation? And that's what they're going, I mean, and that's Shangri-La for them.
And a president who has a group of people around the table who have all our data, right? So they're not only complicit and they're not only going along, they have our data. So what happens when Trump says, you know what, Mark Zuckerberg, I want all the data you've got on Chicago before I send in the National Guard. And those hard questions are going to come, and I'm not counting on too many guys at that table to hold the line.
I want you to explain to us what that does to people who are members of the National Guard who have to leave their day jobs that pay a whole lot more money than the $11 they get paid to go to Washington, D.C. to pick up trash for the beautification project.
In the midst of all the other chaos and drama and terror, I think this is the most important story in America and maybe in the world.
Explain.
Trump has hijacked the levers of power around our military, period. There is no transparency. There is no accountability. Congress has been totally steamrolled. And now he can effectively do whatever he wants with the military that he's now calling the Department of War, ranging from striking on Iran to hitting drug dealers in Venezuela to, in 2019, sending the Navy SEALs into North Korea, to sending the National Guard into L.A., and now Chicago. The guardrails are gone. This is the most dangerous course of action. This is what we worried about with Donald Trump. And if you get lost in all the other drama and RFK and everything else, remember, he has access to the nukes. And he could make the same argument to use nukes that he's made for the National Guard and hitting Iran and everything else. This is the story. It is the central story, and it's why he started with Hegseth. It's why he's always focused on the Pentagon, because that's where the power is. And he's rolling it out in bits and pieces every single week, and he's trying to normalize it. And that's what we have to push back on most of all. None of this is normal. None of it is acceptable. And all of it is dangerous.
The question is now, that's not enough. Where are the generals and the admirals on this? What is their obligation?
Many of them have been purged.
Yeah.
And that's the important part.
All of them?
Most of them. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, all the JAGs, the head of Cyber Command. This is the part that America kind of forgets about.
And the ones that are left,
they started with Hegseth. They started with the culture warrior in the most important place. And he's ahead of schedule. Imagine if he didn't do these screw-ups. Imagine if he didn't try to use Signal for classified documents. They'd be ahead of this, and nothing is stopping them. That's why it's the most important story in America, because he hasn't.
Does America realize that? Like, look at young voters, right?
Another important and alarming part of this, a high percentage of young people are buying this and are all in and aren't going to Harvard and instead are signing up for ICE. And they're listening to Theo Vaughn and they're into what Hegseth is doing. And that is an alarming and important part of this, because a lot of young men, especially young men who don't see economic opportunity, are being radicalized. And they're being radicalized into the movement, and they are going in to be foot soldiers in ICE. That is their out right now. They're not going to go to Harvard, but they can join ICE and get a $50,000 signing bonus.
Wow, there you go. Paul, I'm guessing you did not go Sabrina Carpenter.
Shocking.
No, but I love Sabrina Carpenter.
I didn't know she was an option.
But there's a group of people that I love more, especially this week. It's back to school here in New York. It's been back to school in other places.
In the country.
I have kids going into 4th grade and 1st grade in public school. And there are no greater heroes in our country than our teachers.
Amen.
At a time when they've navigated everything from COVID to the immigration system to now recognizing that you are probably more likely to die in the line of fire if you're a teacher than a soldier. They are literally standing in front of guns for our kids, and they are heroes and they need to be celebrated, and they are the helpers that run in when others are running out.
Thank you, Fred
Rogers. And they should be celebrated. They are the MVPs this week and every week.
Many of whom have to get second jobs just so they can afford their lives and stick to their true craft.